So let's start on this. The quantitative section is always the second section of the HSPT. Let's fill this in right here. Okay. It contains 52 questions in 30 minutes. Okay. You guys should be filling this in. Quantitative section is always the second section of the HSPT. Contains 52 questions in 30 minutes. How many of you guys felt like, oh my gosh, we are jamming through this thing when you guys did this last week, when you did this 2 weeks ago, right? So this is kind of challenging because it's not simply straightforward math, okay? Instead, it's different because they offer 4 types of questions, which are not your typical questions on a daily basis with math. Let's close this door for me, Tula. Can you do that? Okay. So the 4 questions are the following, and I want you to write these down. The first one is geometric comparison, and there are 9 questions of geometric comparison. Those are the types where you're comparing shapes to each other and trying to decide what is different about them, which one is greater, more shaded area, less shaded area. The second type is called non-geometric comparison, and that's a very general category. There are 8 of those questions, and what you're doing is you're comparing quantities. Sometimes it is like they give you values for how much a variable is. A might be, an equation, you got to calculate it, and then B might be a different equation, you've got to calculate that one, and then C might be another equation, you've got to calculate that, and then compare which one's greater, A, B, or C. So that's non-geometric comparison. The third type is called a series, and a series question is kind of strange. There are 18 of these, so they're unavoidable, okay? Out of 52, there are 18 of these. You should be writing the number so you get an idea of the proportions. Series questions might lead you with some numbers. It'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll say, what is the next number in this series? Or it might be a little bit more strange. It might be like A, B, C, D, E, and it'll ask you what's the next letter in the series. So those are the series questions. And sometimes they combine both numbers and letters together, and it gets a little bit more strange here. Last but not least, they have just straightforward arithmetic algebra questions. Those are the ones that you would probably anticipate from a quantitative skills section, but they're a little bit harder. So the hard part of this is just the timing. I don't think the math here on this quantitative section requires a lot of translation, but what it does require is speed and accuracy. So let me just state this. This is really important at the bottom of the page. It says the quantitative section offers these 4 kinds of questions in random order. So it's not really predictable. You can't go, let's get this part done and switch over to this one. But you don't need to do it in order. So we're mentally trained to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and just do our problems like that. But I'm going to tell you that the straight arithmetic algebra questions are the easiest ones. Okay? If you wanted to pick and choose and do those first, I would do those first because those are much more straightforward. The comparison questions take a little bit more energy, and sadly, there are 17 of those, so it's a lot of effort. The series questions, I would say, are secondary in difficulty, but you can pick and choose. For some people, series questions might be easier. Some people, comparison questions might be easier. We're going to go into these. Does this refresh your all's memory at all, or some of you guys are like, I don't know what you're talking about? Okay. All right, let's continue here on the next page, and we'll talk about comparison questions here. Let's write this in. Comparison questions ask you to compare geometric figures, numbers, and a mix of numbers, okay? Numbers and letters, mix of numbers and letters, okay? So we're gonna look at these more closely, but before we do that, let's get familiar with the wording of the questions so that when you look at the questions, you're immediately, able to distinguish these questions from other questions. Typically, the questions are worded exactly the same. they'll say something like, examine figures A, B, and C, then choose the correct statement. And when it does that, it's saying, does A have more shading than B? Does C have more shading? That's what they're doing there, okay? The next part says examine A, B, and C, and then choose the correct statement. That would probably be a comparison of numbers or letters, okay? So we're gonna do that. This is my advice here. The answer choices usually state that one number is greater than the other two, one number is less than the other two. The number should be placed in a specific order instead of just A, B, and C. It might be C, B, A, or B, C, A, or something like that. Two of the numbers are equal to each other, or a combination of inequalities and equalities, meaning some are equal to each other while others are greater than or less than. Okay? Some of you guys are like, whoa, let's see an example here. On the page on the right, on page 17, before we look at the examples, we have our method. Our method is calculate the numbers in the equations, then compare the two equations. I'm sorry, not the two, but the three equations, and then select the answer choice that correctly describes the relationship. Are they greater, less than, or equal to? Let's start over here with Omar. Can you read number 1 for us?
One number is greater than the other two.
Okay, so wait. Did you read number 1? No, on the questions on the right, on page 17. 17. You just read what I read.
Yeah,
I read that a minute ago, yeah.
Calculate the numbers in the equations.
Below that, I just read that. I read that also. If you were listening, I read that already.
Examine A, B, and C and find the best answer.
Yes. Okay, so this is exactly the same wording, but you have 3 equations here. Let's solve these. Who wants to tell me what A is equal to?
10.
So this is 10. Okay, what is B equal to?
22.
22. Okay. And C? 18. This is pretty straightforward, easy math, but it's just time consuming, right? Because you got to sit there and calculate. Okay, so we did the second thing. We did the first thing, sorry. We calculated the numbers in the equations. Now let's compare them. We obviously can tell B is the greatest and A is the smallest. Now let's select the answer choice that best describes the relationship here. What is B equal to C? That's what answer A says.
No.
That's out. Okay. Is C greater than A but less than B?
Yeah.
Nico says yes. So she says true. Okay. What about C? Let's double check everything before we conclude. A is greater than C. Hayden says no. Okay, so false. And then D, just to confirm.
No.
Hayden says no there. Okay, yeah, that's a no also. That's false. So pretty much we can be confident that B is our best answer right there. Now, obviously, you guys are like, whoa, that took more than 30 seconds. Okay, yes, it did. But we're doing it together, and we're trying to establish a technique. Because more than anything on these comparison questions, the answers don't really jump out at you. You really do have to calculate and then compare to do these. Let's look at the next one. On number 2 here, before we actually do this one, I want to note that the way that this printed, it looks weird. And not A, but the statement A, it looks like 43. That should be 4 to the 3rd power. And B should be 3 to the 4th power. Okay. So those are exponents. All right. So if that's the case, let's do this again. And can someone tell me what A equals there, William? 64. All right. B? Say that again, Hayden?
81.
81. And then C, who got this one?
48.
Hayden got it, 48. So 48. So we have these. This is very obvious now as to what the values are here. And let's go through the answer choices. I'm just going to write these. Let's hear new voices here. Let's go with Dylan over here. What do you think of answer A? That is false. Okay. So that's out. All right. And then Thomas, what do you think of B? A minus B of 64 minus 81. Is that greater than C?
No, A says equals B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I read that wrong. I'm looking at B. I was looking at A, right? Or something. But no. A equals B. That's definitely not true, right? A equals B and is greater than C. Not true because it's not equal. So that's false. Okay. What about C? Let's hear from Olivia. What do you think?
C is right.
C says B is greater than A, which is greater than C, which is true. So that's true. And did anyone choose D or look at D? If you look at D, it's saying A equals C. Already that's wrong. So that's false. Okay. So our answer is definitely C. Does everybody see that? Let's do a few of these in practice, or let's actually, before we do the practice ones, we'll talk about comparison of geometric shapes. Okay, so this is kind of interesting here. Let's look, our method is slightly different, but yet the same. The first thing is you examine the figures to find differences in the figures. Looking right below, you can see 3 different circles. They look kind of similar, but yet they are different in how they are patterned. The shapes of the patterns are different, the shading. Identify the characteristics that the question is asking. So they might be talking about shading, they might be asking about not shaded area. Who knows what it is? Select the answer choice that best describes them. Okay, so we have these 3 shapes. Does anyone want to tell me what they think about these? William, what do you think?
C is shaded more than A and B.
C is shaded more than, and what is your way of just determining that?
Well, I guess counting the white triangles.
Good. I think that's a good way of doing it. If you look at it, A and B have how many white triangles?
4.
4, and this one obviously only 3. So that's a good basis for that. Now let's go through the answer choices because we've kind of identified that. Let's just go with answer A. What do you think, Omar, for A? For answer A. False. Okay. Same number of white triangles, same number of black triangles, right? So that's false. Okay. Tyler, what do you think of B?
It is false.
It's false because it's saying B is more shaded, but they have the same area of shaded. They're both four triangles, so that's out. The next one, Luca, what do you think?
I think it's true.
A and B are equal and shaded less than C. That's pretty much what we concluded when William told us that. So that's our best answer. C is true. Okay. How do you guys feel about this? Good? Does it feel more like a system now than just kind of like you're reacting to the questions? Do you guys feel like it's more of a system? That's really the important thing because the last thing we want to be is like if you took a household cat and you just like put it in the jungle and just go out there and survive in the jungle, right? It's going to go on instinct mode and stuff like that. We don't want to be like that because we have ways that we've learned at school, but now we're put into a different environment. So we want to use all the skills that we have to handle these things, but use a system. Let's go to number 2 here. Olivia, you want to read number 2 for us?
The pie is divided into 16 equal portions. Study the pie and find the best answer.
Okay. So it's important that they gave us something which said 16 equal portions. So we know that each of these slices, these triangles are the same. Okay. So let's go with these. And they don't have any comparison of different figures, so it's all from one of them. And they've designated that B is the 3 slices, C is 3 slices, D is 2 slices, A is 1. Blanca, what do you think of answer A?
It is false.
Okay, tell us why.
Because if you add A plus B, it's going to equal 3,
Uh-huh.
and then B plus C is going to equal 6.
Correct. So 8, I'm just going to use this one. It's false. That's out. Okay. All right. What do you think of the next one, Nico?
It's false.
Okay.
Because 2 minus 1 is 1.
Uh-huh.
And 3 minus 3 is 0.
Right. So they're not equal to each other. That's false. All right. Tula, what do you think of this third one?
It's true because 3 minus 2 is 1.
That's right. So I like how you guys immediately identified values for these geometric figures. And by doing that, you're able to kind of calculate the actual areas there. The one thing that, that they tell us that helps a lot is that each of these slices is equal. Because otherwise, we'd be asking a big question of, are they equal slices, right? How do you guys feel about this? Good? All right, let's do more of these. Well, actually, we're going to go from these comparison questions to what we call series questions. Okay, and this is another area. This is one of the 3 areas of the HSPT, which also are unique to it. It's not your standard math, but this is really testing your ability to identify number patterns, okay? And so there are 4 areas where you could recognize number patterns. They are obviously in numbers, okay? Number 2 would be in letters, and they'll use letters from the alphabet, nothing strange, nothing from other languages other than English. So we should think of those as 26 letters. They might use a mix of letters and numbers, and they might use shapes, okay, in a series. Okay, so the standard format of these number series questions ask, first of all, what is the next number or in the following, and they'll give you 4 choices as to what number should follow. What is the missing number? So they'll give you a list, and there's like a blank, and it continues, but you've got to fill in the blank. What are the next 3 numbers in the following series? So they might ask you for several numbers, but what that means is that there's a pattern of 3. So it might be, increasing numbers 1, 2, 3. The next one was 4, 5, 6. The next one is 7, 8, 9, right? So they might be grouping them together. This is going to be kind of interesting here when we get to patterns. But before we do that, let's talk about the method. The method is number 1, identify if the series is increasing or decreasing. What you're trying to do is spot the trend, okay? Identify the pattern. Number 2, find a common pattern between the units within the series. What does that mean? That means to go from one number to the next, is it because of you're adding something to it? Are you multiplying? Are you dividing? Are you subtracting to get from one number to the next number to the next number? It might be a combination of things. It might even be alternating, where it's adding, subtracting, adding, subtracting. It might even be multiplying, subtracting, multiplying, subtract. It might be a little bit weird. So you got to be very flexible with this, okay? And then test for consistency. Make sure it continues through that entire list and does the same thing every time. In this box, what I did was I gave you examples, and I want to see whether you guys can identify the patterns here. So let's start over here with Thomas. What do you notice about the first set of numbers in the box? Right, increasing by 2s. So let's write that up. Increasing. What I'm going to say here in pattern is I want you to put in parentheses next to it that this is an obvious case of even numbers decreasing. And some of the most simple type of trends you might see would be even numbers or odd numbers. That's very easy to spot, right? The next one, let's go with Dylan. What do you see there?
Decreasing by 4.
Decreasing by 4, that's true. So decreasing by 4 in each of these, so that's right. What you'll notice here is in this one, it's decreasing by the same number. So we would call this a common difference, meaning like the same number is being subtracted every time. Tyler, question? Yeah, you want to tell us the next one?
It multiplied by 3.
Yes. So it's a common factor of 3. So meaning that each one of these gets multiplied by 3. So we're going to call that common factor, where you can see it's constantly getting multiplied by 3. Oh, Omar, you want to try the next one? What do you notice there?
It's changing.
What do you notice from the 1 to the 4 to the 9? What do you think?
It's you're adding
Is it adding? William, want to help out here?
Well, you start with adding by 3, and then you increase it with 2 with every number. So it's you add 3 to 1, which is 4, and then you increase it by 2, which is 5. To 4 plus 5 equals 9. And you increase 5 by 2, 7. 9 plus 7 equals 16.
So it's increasing odd numbers. Yeah, that's one interpretation of it. And it looks like it's working from this series because he added 3, then he added 5, then he added 7, and then added 9. What's another interpretation? There's 2 interpretations for this one. Because I think, Omar, you were kind of getting there, right? Similar idea. So increasing plus odd number. Okay, that's one interpretation. What's another one? Let me see if anyone else had a different interpretation of this. The reason why I'm asking for a second one is because sometimes in math, you can get to the same answer with different methods. But Dylan? Not strong enough because if it is odd and even, but is there consistency in the difference between them? Because there's several odds that follow one and several evens. Tyler, what else do you notice?
Those 3, 5, 6.
So this is the 149 that you're talking about, right? Do you have a conclusion, Tula?
You could start from 25 and subtract like that.
Yes, but I think that's not strong enough. There's one that I think is pretty obvious. I don't know. Nika, do you notice anything? Olivia?
No. Oh,
William?
you're adding by consecutive odd numbers.
Well, that's what you said. Increase by odd. You already said this.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
what you
different
said.
wording. I thought that's what.
Okay, I'm going to reveal it because it didn't sound like people caught it. But if you notice this, if you said 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared. So this is actually common exponent here. Okay, so that's really what I was looking for originally. Common exponent. The one that William came up with was true, that it was adding by odd numbers because it was plus 3, plus 5, plus that actually worked out. I didn't even think of that, but this is one of these kind of methods that they use that I've seen on common exponent. Okay, Tula, do you want to try the next one?
It goes odd, even, odd.
Even, odd.
Well, you skip.
Not sure. I see hands here. Let's go to Nico. I haven't heard from her.
You do plus 1 plus 2.
Yes.
1 plus 2.
Okay, she spotted it exactly. That's plus 1 plus 2. It's alternating pattern. That's alternating pattern. That's what that is. So what I'm really training you guys to do here with this exercise is to develop an eye for these patterns, because we don't want to be like reacting to it, on a whim and saying, okay, it's got to be something, right? Because once you see this and you've made this list of patterns, these are common patterns that you'll see, then you'll go, oh yeah, I've seen this before, right? Let's go with Olivia on the next one.
So it's like you add 1 and then you add 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. So this is an increasing number that you're adding, right? So she said +1, +2, +3, +4. You guys can see that, right? So it's an increasing addition. That's what they're doing. That's a good way of recognizing that. Okay, Blanca, you want to try this next one? This one's a really weird one.
Think that it might be multiplying
Multiplying what?
by 2.
You're warm, but not there. I saw Dylan's hand go up first. I'm going to go Dylan.
1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6.
Yes.
6 times 4 is
So this is also an increasing pattern of multiplication. Increasing factor. You guys see that? Increasing factors. Are you guys starting to see like these like trends, these patterns here? That's all they're really testing you on. For those who are not taking a class like this and not learning about patterns, when they do these questions, they're kind of just reacting, But you guys are developing kind of your own little glossary of the patterns here. Okay. Hayden, you want to try the next one here?
Yeah. So I don't know what the fancy wording for it is, but it's like whichever number it is, it's gonna say that number, that amount.
Yeah, there's not really a fancy wording, but it's kind of like the number appears the same number as itself in this one, right? So this means 1 is once, 2 is twice, 3 is 3 times. You can see that, right? You see that, Omar? 1 is once, 2 is.
wording it different.
What were you wording it? Maybe you can help us on
I was
that.
saying that we were like, it was like almost the same thing as what you said, but just keep on adding to the number.
Right. So the number shows up as many times as it exists. Okay, and then the last one here. Okay, Dylan, you want to do that one?
It goes +1 minus 2 plus 3 +1 minus 2 plus 3 +1 minus 2.
So there's this. It's a strange. What this one is called is recursive. If you look at this, this one goes. It kind of goes out of order, and Dylan gave us kind of a formula for it. I'm going to write this one up here. Oops. Let's erase it. Let's just start with this. He said +1 minus 2, right? And then it skips to the next set. This is kind of one set. Then it's 6, 7, 5, which is +1 minus 2. So this is an alternating pattern. And some people call this recursive because if you didn't do it this way and just wrote it out, let me just write it up here. 4, 5, 3, 6, 7, 5. Does anybody know what the word recursive means? I'm going to write it up here. Does anybody know what recursive? Yeah, Dylan, what's recursive?
My guess is it just means like a recurring.
So yeah, it goes kind of backwards like a loop, and it kind of goes forward, but it goes back and it keeps. Yeah, that's good, William. So it's like goes forward and then goes back. 2 forward, 1 back. That's kind of what this is, but this is going 1 forward, 2 back. That's what Dylan figured out there. 1 forward, 2 back. But if you look at it this way, it's kind of confusing, but you can see how this is the next set. already. So this is a recursive type of alternating pattern here. Okay, how do you guys feel about this stuff? Pretty good? Let's try to do the first 5. Let me have you guys work on those. We'll go over them together and we'll talk about patterns. So go ahead and work on that. You can work with the person next to you if you like.
-2. Wait, I don't understand this pattern. -2 plus 3 minus 3.
Then you add 4.
And these ohms appear. Oh yeah, I got it. It's like 12, 13, 10, 14, 10. Okay. 20, 40, 20, 40, 60.
Sorry? Just do 1 through 5 for now.
9, 3. I think it's gonna be 9, 5. 9, 1, 9, 3, 9, 5. But it could be 6. So I don't know. Maybe 5 words. I think it's 5 though.
Adding like 2, so
It's adding by 2 or if you're multiplying by 3. So I think it's 5 though, because 9 is an inverse.
yeah.
So it's probably 5.
Just go 1 through 5. We'll go over it together.
5, 8, 5, 8.
And then we'll do the other ones right after that.
5.
Guys almost at number 5? Everybody ready? Well, let's. Okay, we're all ready? Everybody's ready? Okay, let's start over here on the girls. It's like the girls' side of the room, the guys' side of the room. That's what I noticed here. Let's start over here. Tula, what'd you say for number 1?
C.
C, tell us why.
Because it goes 12, 10, 13, 10, 14, 10.
Yeah, it's repeating the 10, but the other numbers are increasing, 12, 13, 14. If there were like a couple of other numbers added, there would be 10 and then 15, 10 and then 16, right? So that's kind of what's going on there. Nico, number 2.
We use A.
Okay, and tell us why.
If you kind of look at it, it goes 20, 46 and 20, 46.
Right, it's just repeating one pattern, 2, 4, 6, 20, 40, 60, okay. Blanca, what did you say for number 3?
I said 5
5, tell us why 5.
because it was adding 1. It was added by 2 to equal 3,
Uh-huh.
and then if you add 2 to 3, it will equal 5.
Right. So again, this is just going, the 9 is kind of, I think of this as like a song where there's a constant beat in the background, and that 9 is just that constant beat. It's like the drummer has his foot on this, bass pedal, and that's just constantly going. And then he's doing this other stuff with his, hands and doing stuff like that. That's what I think of. All right. And then Olivia, what did you say for the next one?
I said 8 because there's kind of an obvious pattern.
Just back and forth, 5 and 8. Okay, let's go to Luca, number 5 here.
I just said it was C because it's just going down like N9, 8, 7, 6.
Good. All right. Let's go 6 through 10. Go ahead. You can work with the person next to you.
It's adding 1,
3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, yeah, 14. Okay, then you got 1, 1, plus 1, plus 1, minus 1, plus 1, plus 1, minus 1. Plus 1, minus 1, plus 1, 25 again. Okay, 10, 10, 12, 14, 14, 10, 10, 12, 14, 14, 16, 18. I'm pretty sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, and then you add another 1, minus 1, plus 0.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 1, minus, what the heck? 0.
Eight. Also something.
Nice. Pattern. What about the pattern? Oh, I think it's 4. Because it's like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, and then 4. I don't know though. Eight, 7, 8.
Plus
10. I think it would be.
Let's do this. All right. Okay, so let's go to number 6. Let's start with Omar. What would you choose for number 6? 16. Let's talk about that. What was your method for this?
It will go 1, 2, and then it will be plus 3, and then after that they would it will go 6, and you would plus 3 again to 9, and then I'll go up by 1 and 13, and you would plus 3 after that, and then
Kind of, but that I don't think that's consistent enough here. William, do you want to help us on this one?
I found 2.
You found 2. You can only choose one answer though.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
2 patterns.
2 patterns.
Not the
Okay.
same
Okay.
answer.
Okay. What
So,
did you choose? Or what did you do?
The math version, I did plus 1, plus 3, and repeating that, and I got 14. And
Okay.
then I also saw there you could do it was like 1, 2, and then you go 5, 6, then you go 9, 10, 13, 14.
Right.
Like that.
So that was right. It was 14. That was correct. So that was the right pattern that he found there. It's adding 1. It's kind of skipping 2 numbers, adding 1, skipping 2 numbers, adding 1, skipping 2 numbers. So I saw Tyler's, he was like, you had 14 in your mind and didn't convince him that it was 14. Okay, that's all right. You guys are all on the right page. Let's go with number 7. Tyler, you want to tell us what you did on that one?
I got C.
Yes, and then tell us how you got it.
It's plus 1, and then plus 1 again, minus 1, plus 1, plus 1, and then minus 1, and then it's plus 1 again.
Okay, that works. That works. You got 5 there. Did anybody use a different pattern or see anything there? Pretty much the same here? Okay. Let's go to number 8. Let's go with Thomas. You want to tell us what you got on that one?
I got A.
Okay. Tell us what your line of thinking was on this, but there might be a different answer here. But tell us what you did here.
I guess just with the 16 because
I think there's an alternation that's going. Omar, what did you notice here?
I got 18.
18 is right.
It was
Okay.
it went so you counted 10 twice,
Right.
and then you skip 2, then you counted 12 once, then you'll skip 2, count
Right.
14 twice, and then
Yeah,
skip 2, put 16 once, and then you'll skip 2 and get 18.
exactly. That's right. It was the same number twice and then skip same number twice. Hayden, did you want to do the next one? Or go ahead. Go ahead.
I got
Okay, tell us how you got D.
because it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in between each number is 2, 3. It's like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's a pattern of 3 digits actually. You see it 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's like
Almost like it's like music. Yeah, I don't know. Did anybody ever have like a music teacher or piano, and the teacher is counting while you're playing your instrument? 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Yeah, that's what that is. So the answer was 4, but for a little bit different reason there, Hayden, than kind of what you were thinking on that. But I think other people saw that repetition. Okay, let's go to number 10 here. Dylan, you want to answer that one? Okay, that's correct. And tell us how you did it.
It was kind of off of like an educated guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 8 was surrounded by 9s, the 7 was surrounded by 8s, then I put another 7 after the 8.
Oh,
Did anybody have a different pattern here or a reason? Nico? -1, -1, +1. Okay. Alternating, yeah, that's. And then William, what'd you notice here?
again, it's like the number 9, the consecutive 3 numbers.
Yeah.
Where it's like 10, 9, 8, 9, 8, 7. But and each starting number of the 3 patterns is reducing by 1.
Right. So we had a few good explanations here. I think Nico gave us a good formulaic one where you're subtracting, and then adding, but what I saw here myself was I saw a pattern that was recursive. 10, 9, 8, 9, 8, 7, 8, 7. That's what the next few numbers would have been 8, 7, 6. It's kind of recursive where it goes back. It goes down 3 and then back 2, down 3, up 2. That's what I saw in that one. Okay. So this is tricky stuff here, but really what we're training ourselves to do is recognize patterns. And although we came to the same answers, I noticed that we had different reasons. As long as you can show that it's a recurring pattern, then you'll get to the right answer. That's what I'm going to say. But if it's not substantiated well enough, then it's not going to result in the best answer. Okay, good job, everyone. Let's continue with these series questions. This is talking about letters and mixed numbers series. So that means there's some which just have patterns of letters, and then some that have patterns of letters and numbers. Okay? So the letters and mixed series questions ask about the next character in an alternating series of characters. So this is kind of interesting because we have to treat the alphabet as something that has order to it, meaning that obviously A is first and Z is last, which means A is going to be number 1, B 2, C 3, Z is number 26. Everyone knows that, right? So when we look at our method here for letter series questions, we treat letters like numbers, okay? So there is a specific order to it. We identify a pattern in the series, and this gets a little bit tricky here because although we're treating them as numbers, as 1, 2, 3, all the way to 26, sometimes they might change it up and just use vowels. And vowels might be just those 5 special characters, right? Whereas everything else is not. They might use vowels to kind of break groups, right? Like we had a series with a break with another number. We might be using vowels or something like that. So identify the patterns and then predict the next letter. Let's try this again where we see patterns. I should have put these in the other box, but let's identify what these are. Let's start with William. What would you say for this first one that you see right here?
It's like the problem we did earlier where it's 3 numbers again. It's F, the H going backwards in
Mhm.
the order of the alphabet. F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N.
Mhm.
And then it would be O, P, N.
Right. So what is the pattern that we're identifying here?
3 consecutive letters going backwards in groups of 3.
Yeah. So this is 3 letters going backwards. So I would write here, it's going backwards in groups of 3s, alphabetically backwards in groups of 3s. It's getting a little bit weirder than the numbers, right? You guys see that? Let's go with the next one here. Hayden, you want to try that one?
Yeah, if you take out the A, then it's alphabetical order.
Okay.
It's C, E, F, G.
Right.
A's and
Right. The A is just this constant beat in the background, and then you're progressing from C. So your next one would probably be H, right? So this is alternation and progressing, and it has a constant kind of background rhythm, if you want to call it that. Dylan, you want to talk about the next one?
It's A, B, C, D, E, F, F, G, H, I, and then B, A is the second I, because of the 2 individual letters in the first one.
Right. It's probably going to be 2 I's. So this is, again, repeating the third term twice. That's what they're doing here. It's kind of tricky here. This is getting a little harder with letters than numbers. Luca, what do you think of this? This is getting really weird. This is a mixed one with letters and numbers. What do you think of this?
Okay, so it says GB, and then if you skip the next one, it says GB2, and then GB3. And it's the same for the S, it's S10, and then S20, and S30.
So if you were to give it a general pattern, what would you call it as?
Well, I don't know. Like for the
I kind of named it, but I mean, what would you call that? Tula, what would you say?
well, also 1 times 10 is 10, 2 times 10 is 20, 3 times 10 is 30.
Right. So what we would do is there's 2 separate courses here. Okay. Is that a hand that you wanted to tell us what it was, or you want to tell us, Omar? Okay. What I was going to say is with the series of S's, the S just stays there and the numbers go up by 10s. With the GB series, the numbers just go up 1, 2, 3. You can see that. So they kind of give you 2 series in one question right there. And that can be kind of confusing, but the numbers were simply increasing, one of them by 1s, the other one by 10s. That's all they were doing. Fortunately, they didn't dramatically change the letters. That's usually harder. Let's try the next one. Olivia, you want to try this next one?
Yeah, sure. So it's like the numbers are consecutive, and it's like 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. So the next one would probably be J4.
Yeah, it would be J4 probably. It would be J4, K4, L4, right? So the alphabet was it was progressing alphabetically, right? But the numbers were only increasing after every 3 letters, right? So it's a little bit tricky there, right? So you can see that the numbers increased after every 3 letters. That's how I would do it, okay? Any questions on this? This is a little bit more complex than pure numbers. I want you to work with the person next to you and go ahead and there's only 5 on this page, but go ahead and do these. The first 3 are just letters. The last 2 are mixed between letters and numbers. I know you're looking at this stuff on page 23 and it's a little bit crazy, but try it, okay?
You don't know your HSPT. I don't know.